Disney's stock price has been struggling for a long time. As you can see here, Disney has basically in 5 years, if you put money with them, 5 years ago you'd have 100, you would have lost money. It's down 8.99%, which is terrible given that the stock market has been going up substantially over the same time. The stock market usually gains about 10-11% a year. Even if you do go back to the max, to get to this share price of $113, I mean, you could have basically 10 years ago, it'd be the same price. That is very bad. And I want to talk about some of the reasons why Disney has lost so much confidence among investors, because there was a big run up. I mean, you can see that here, and then it just didn't work. What happened was Disney thought they were going to be able to make a lot of money on Disney Plus streaming. The problem is they invested a lot on Star Wars and Marvel, two big properties that had great potential and still do have some good films, and/or some good stuff comes out through Disney Plus. But Andor cost something like $600 million to make. There's no way it made that much money back because it was never that popular, despite being quite critically acclaimed, and the fans loved it. The reason it didn't make a lot of money is the larger problem with Disney. People don't trust Disney for good entertainment anymore. These brands like Star Wars, like Marvel, would get people to the theaters, buying tickets, signing up for subscriptions, watching the shows, no matter what. Now, they've had so many duds with failed Star Wars series, with the Star Wars movies that didn't do well, that centered around Rey as this woke Mary Sue character that was super great at everything, and they tarnished so much of the Star Wars legacy with those films that it really de-energized the fans. So when they put out a new show like Andor or anything Star Wars, it just doesn't have that credibility. People are not hungering to see it. They don't want to see it like they used to. Same thing with Marvel. Marvel built up a lot of credibility in the early 2010s when they had, in the lead up to Endgame, they were really hit after hit after hit. There were some notable stumbles like Captain Marvel, which should have been a sign to turn back, but they didn't turn back. They doubled down on the woke. They doubled down on the race swaps. You see this as well in the Disney Princess line, where they race swapped Ariel. They race swapped Snow White, which was absolutely insane. She's named Snow White, and you change the race of this character. Why? You can say, well, but the kids won't necessarily notice. I think the kids do know that Snow White is white, but even if they wouldn't notice, it's not the kids. Snow White and a lot of these characters are beloved, and they have been for generations. I think Snow White came out in the 1930s, I want to say. Everyone knows who that character is. You're trading off of that name, Snow White, because you're trying to get people to drive to the theaters, take their kids to the theaters, and watch it themselves, because they are reliving that nostalgia that they and their parents know. When you radically change the character, change the race, change the plot of Snow White, so it's not really about the love and the Prince Charming rescues the princess. It's about this warrior, princess, girl boss who doesn't need a man. That story isn't what Snow White is. And just because you keep some vague references to Snow White and you keep the name Snow White, when you hollow out the actual plot of the story, when you change the characters of the story, it's really not the same story. And people understand that. Disney can't pull the wool over our eyes and make us believe that Snow White is Latino or that Ariel is a black woman instead of the obvious, famous white redhead. These are not minor alterations. They're quite significant. And when you see that on a poster, it tells the audience it's not worth going to the theater to see, which destroys ticket sales. And it makes them think the next time there's a Disney princess movie, a Marvel movie, or a Star Wars movie, or TV series, or whatever, they can't trust that it's going to be good. Not only can they not trust it's going to be good, a lot of the woke stuff they are pushing on Disney Plus is, particularly with kids and what's on that platform, it's not even that family friendly, which could lead kids to have conversations with the parents don't want to have with the kids yet. There is obviously a big market for nostalgia and bringing back old stuff, even though it is unoriginal at times. Look at how successful Lilo and Stitch was. That shows that there is a demand for nostalgia for millennials and bringing back old things. You just have to do it in the right way, in a respectful way to the source material. If you can't get the basic things right, it makes people think you're not going to get the small things right. And if you watch a lot of these films, it isn't just that they race swap the characters or that they force diversity into a narrative that didn't make any sense. It's that because they were so focused on race swapping the characters and pushing a political agenda, they didn't even select the right people to do the films. Snow White is a bad film, even outside of the fact that they race swapped Snow White. And you can say that about so many Marvel movies now. The Marvels, the Eternals. You can say that about, I would say, Star Wars films that have come out recently. They're not good films. It's very hard to make a good film. And when you purposely prioritize political agendas, propaganda, into the film and make that the center, not good storytelling, not themes of heroism and love and well-written, deep characters, when you make it about propaganda, it doesn't sell. It sounds like propaganda, and propaganda films aren't good. They send a message, but they're not good. Disney needs to stick to the fundamentals, return value to their stockholders, because like I said, despite the market being up huge over the same time period, Disney's stock is in the same place it was 10 years ago. It's because the Disney brand spent decades, century, building up credibility with the American people. It was a safe place to park your kids. They had good, solid, entertaining classics that they brought to life quite well in animation. And now, and by the way, it's not just the Disney princess films, even the animation they're messing up. Look at Pixar. Pixar used to have great film after great film. Then look at, Buzz Lightyear. And a lot of the Pixar films of the last decade, it's not what it used to be. It's clearly declined in quality. Partially, I think they're just turning out garbage because they have production deadlines, but also partially, they're not focusing on the fundamentals of great storytelling anymore. They're pushing political agendas. They're making sure they have a certain amount of people from different, check boxes. And the tokenism, by the way, doesn't even really appeal to the woke people, because while they may clap for the idea of tokenism, they are fundamentally unsatisfied because they want the story effectively completely rewritten, not just partially rewritten to reflect the new Black diversity or woman lead. So they're still upset that Snow White isn't woke enough. Not only that, but the people who love the classics are also upset because you've defiled what they loved and turned it into this joyless cash grab. You've really angered both sides, pleasing no one, and that's why the stock just isn't doing well, and it's not going to be doing well until they return to the basics and stop pushing this woke agenda. Now, let me know what you guys think. Do you think they're going to change or not? I'm thinking it's going to be a long path forward, because as you see very recently with Fantastic Four, that is going to be a woke movie. They're still pushing the woke agenda in so many forms that I'm thinking it's going to take at least several more years of failure and stagnation before they decide, time's up, we need to reboot the way we do things.